Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the debut of the Ring the Bell podcast live here on Insane Games TV, presented by Insane Games. We are off to our debut podcast here. Everything WWE, AEW, wrestling, UFC, maybe. I don't know. We can talk about anything wrestling. We got a lot to go over here tonight. Some of you may be familiar with us. Myself, Dan, and Tyler. If you're at all familiar with the store or our channel, you may know us from Behind the Counter. We did that for, almost a year and a half. So, you probably know if you watch that program at all that we did a lot of wrestling talk and different WWE segments between the two of us. But no, we're excited to be on here. Wrestling show here on the debut of the Insane Games TV network. We will have the wrestling podcast here every Wednesday night at 5 p.m. Power Wednesday, we're calling it, because we got a full lineup on Wednesdays. So I'm pretty excited, getting ready for that. What are your thoughts on it?
Do you want to list the rundown of everything that we got jam-packed on Wednesday nights?
So we got just for Wednesdays, we got the Ring the Bell podcast, which is right now. We got the No Look podcast with Mr. Tyler here, and also AC Weezy, Austin Cook. It will be
AC Weezy
if you
from the 5-5 or whatever the hell he says.
He does that ha
ha. Get your weight up.
But if you're familiar with him, he actually has our Monday Night Gaming broadcast, and he's also on Thursday nights for Thirsty Thursdays. He goes over Fortnite, and Monday he goes over all the highlights for football and so on. So two great shows. So Austin will actually be on set here in the Insane Games studio for the No Look podcast with Tyler. That's up next. Not premiering this week, but probably next week is the Dream Team podcast with Tom and Mike. You also know Mike from the Behind the Counter podcast, and then everyone's familiar with the Weekend Wednesday with Dave. That will be on at 8 o'clock. It'll be on 8 o'clock here tonight. So make sure you keep on with us for the whole night, because we're partially jammed, partially ready to go. And then of course you can check our channel out throughout the week. We got some great programs going on Thursday. We got Call of Duty on Fridays. We got Insane Games Live on Saturday and Sunday. We're back on Mondays with Behind the Counter is debuting Monday, with Mike debuting the Retro Monday stream where he does retro games. And then Austin Cook will be back Monday Night Gaming. And then Tuesdays, the Nerd Glasses podcast. We got a lot of stuff going on. So it's only going to get better as we keep adding more and more content, and I think we will. We're kind of bear with us as we go through some of the technical glitches as we get to channel. None of us, I don't know about you, Tyler, but none of us are familiar with running a TV network. So, we really don't have that background.
Are familiar with running a network that's going to be possibly streaming 24/7. I mean, it's an incredible time to be alive, truly blessed. So bear with us as we try to figure out all the kinks as we figure them out ourselves. But let's get back to the topic at hand, wrestling, because that's what this podcast is about. Wrestling.
And as I sit here, I hope we'll have some more displays here, but as I sit here, I realize we really don't have anything AEW on the set. So we're going to have to try to find some AEW merchandise and get that...
a little bit of the bubbly shirt, maybe?
So why don't we give the viewers a little bit of insight on myself and you, because I think we kind of have two different backgrounds when it comes to wrestling. I'll start with myself. I'm a big WWE fan. When I was growing up through the early 2000s, a young Danny was watching my favorite wrestler, The Rock, the People's Champ, going through the 2000s, dealing with the McMahon-Helmsley era. I never once watched WCW. Wasn't a WCW fan. Didn't watch it. Didn't care. Wasn't really up to date that WWE was either losing or not losing in the ratings. And never really cared. I'm familiar with WCW. I know what shows they had, what wrestlers were over there. But I'm not too familiar with the storyline. So when we talk WCW, you'll probably hear more from Tyler than me. but now I find myself, I'm a constant look what's going on every day in the WWE. I don't know if I'm a constant watcher, but I'm up to date on what's going on, and now we got the AEW, and we'll go into my opinion about AEW later. But Tyler, why don't you go over a little bit of what your background is and what you've followed for wrestling?
Avid Jeff Hardy fan. Definitely by far my favorite wrestler, regardless of his past or anything. But I pretty much shot out the womb loving wrestling, everything that has to do about it. WCW, I even watched TNA, WWE, WWF, all of the above.
What's TNA?
I don't know. A little show, a wrestling show in Tennessee. But yeah, I just like the whole thing behind it. I've always loved the drama. Sometimes the corniness can be a little too much for me, but overall, I just don't think I ever gone probably more than a year without watching wrestling. So I'm more of like one of those closet guys that watch wrestling. I'm not going to be the guy out in the street wearing a wrestling shirt unless it's Stone Cold Steve Austin or Ric Flair related.
I should have worn my Just Bring It shirt. Man, I forgot about that.
I was thinking about wearing the Stone Cold shirt, but I didn't think on the first episode, maybe not unleash it out yet. But yeah, and we're going to WrestleMania this year, so the lead up to WrestleMania, might have to do a show in Tampa during WrestleMania week. Maybe if we become partial celebrities, we can get some credentials and actually go in as some press. Very true. Or just try and get ourselves kicked out. That would be fun too.
Would be fun. So as we get through the show, so I think to kind of give an overview, we're going to do a lot of different segments throughout the show. One that will start out on the show. I'm seeing some Stone Cold propaganda off in the back. What's Dave, come here for a minute. Mike, come here. No, come here for a minute. We're going to do one little picture of a behind-the-counter reunion for a quick second. Just so everyone knows that Behind the Counter is still live. There's Mike, and there's Dave, Tyler, and I. Now get the hell off our set. So, just so you know, Behind the Counter is, all of us are still here. We just all have different things we want to do, and that's what's helped make the Insane Games TV network. So, ding, ready to go. But back to what I was saying. God, that Stone Cold shirt was phenomenal. Dave has some pretty good wrestling in chat. Mike was trying to flex his triceps right there.
Not
Mike,
trying, they're always
the gym, brother. It's not looking that great.
Tyler, I will beat the shit out of you on your own program.
Whoa. So, segment number one is going to be Hot Takes, which is just going to be us going through what we have for an issue this week. I guess I'll go first. And, and go along a little bit with our main field here being video games. One thing that's really, really pissed me off is WWE 2K20. Now, anyone who's familiar knows that I don't think I've asked for a lot. I don't think little old Dan's been asking for a lot. All I want is WWE to put in the general manager mode back into wrestling. They had it.
This is a callback back to Behind the Counter.
Right.
This has been going on for the past 2 years now.
Anyone knows me. I've been asking it really for the last 5. It's a simple mode. It kind of lets you have the abilities to run your own WWE. They got this universal mode, which is just ridiculous. It's not at all the same thing, but we won't. That's a topic for another day. But all little old Dan wants, it was general manager mode back, and we just couldn't do it. The viewers want it. The people playing the game want it. It's a mode that was had a very, very big niche. I don't know if it was popular. There's just a core group of people who really, really liked it. And as time goes on, that group got bigger, bigger, and bigger. Now, anywhere you go and you look at questions, one of the questions on any site you go to is, will it have general manager mode? And I just don't understand why they don't. And it's maybe a WWE issue, but I don't understand why WWE just doesn't give the people what they want. I don't get it. And now, anyone
So you're saying that there is a mass following out there that absolutely is bitching just as much as you about wanting general manager mode.
I would say
there's a core group that
there's a core group.
Put general manager mode into video game for say next year. they could see a spike, an increase in profits in their video game.
I definitely think so. I think it could definitely.
I mean, I don't understand why they don't. I mean, I don't know if you remember, but we got the Xbox 360 that one time when we were living together and got I think it was WWE Raw versus SmackDown 2011 or some shit.
2008.
Just because they had 2008, just because they had general manager mode, and even back then it was dripping wet.
Yeah,
it just makes absolutely no sense to me why they don't have a general manager mode in any of their wrestling games. And if you have two brands, it only makes more sense. Now you have three.
Right, exactly. There's so much different content. Basically, if you're a big wrestling fan, you can do anything you want. I mean, you can create your own Raw roster. You can create your own NXT, SmackDown. There's the fun thing with ratings, and there's the fun things with creative and you remember there's just so much different stuff that you could do with like different storylines and rivalries. And,
I think the biggest one was the ratings. That's the biggest key factor of that whole entire general manager mode, because we would go week versus week in 2008, and we would see who would have the better ratings, and then we would try and beat that guy the next week. And I would always do classic ladder matches or TLC or whatever the hell matches, so my ratings would be better than yours always. And I don't know if you remember, but the funny story was it was this one time Dan forgot to re-sign The Undertaker or something like that, and it was my turn up, and I wanted to re-sign The Undertaker, and Dan threw a hissy fit saying that it wasn't fair that I was signing his best wrestler, and I ended up being the nice guy and letting him re-sign him. But I think
it was bullshit. I don't remember all the little taglines behind that, but it was bullshit on how you got The Undertaker. It was a cheap thing that
you just need to keep up. You need to keep up on your guys, just like a general manager needs to keep up on re-signing his players or his wrestlers.
It didn't finish the full week.
You didn't check your signings and who you had to sign. That's not my problem.
But and the reason why I bring up general manager, it's not because I want it, but the reason why I bring it up is because WWE 2K20 has been getting nothing but trashed on these last 2-3 weeks.
Well, they've been having technical glitches too. I mean, it's not even the fact of the modes. It's just a poorly produced game.
There's glitches. There's something with the hair, or people coming on, their hair isn't really matching up with their head, and there's all these glitches. The modes aren't at all complete, and I even read where if you actually go into the gameplay of the game and you read through the codes, it actually says WWE 2K18. It's they actually didn't even properly put this game together, which annoys the shit out of me, because here I am looking for these modes, and you guys can't even properly build the game. The game got awful sales, and from what I read, an entire creative team has now quit the project. They no longer work on the WWE project.
Maybe the biggest thing is that WWE needs to just get away from 2K. Maybe they need to go back to whoever.
Well, Ukes did it with them.
Oh, that's right.
And 2K fired
Ukes. They need to get back to someone who's gonna give them the product that they used to have, because I remember. It was 10 years after the game came out, but I remember buying a PS2 and purchasing. It was the game that had Jericho, Booker T, Triple H. I forget which one it was, but it was around 2002, 2001, 2002. But they need to get back to those core people that make the games that make it, edgy, or, actually can build together a full complete game. I feel like if you have 1 year where you're coming out with 2K and they mess it up, okay, give them another chance. But if they come out with a bad game, which they have since 2015, I can't even remember a good 2K game that I really liked from them with WWE. They need to switch it up, and especially as Vince McMahon at the helm, you think it'd be done already.
Well, first off, you would think with a major company like 2K, they would actually have a decent game. I don't really get it, but
I mean, they do for the NBA. They always put out
exactly. The NBA is a great game. They got franchise mode. They got it just makes me kind of believe that it's a WWE thing, not so much a 2K. But I don't want to go too long with it. But it's just this game. If you go online and you look up WWE 2K20, it is getting trashed all online. It didn't do well in sales. Apparently, they've only had one one patch that's come out to fix some of the glitches, and it didn't even fix all the glitches, and it didn't even fix even many of them, just a couple of them. But the game is just absolute trash.
Which is a shame because the commercial for that game was absolute dripping with wetness.
They put all this time and money into the commercial, but nothing for the game. So that's my hot take for today. I just wish, I've always wanted GM mode, and they just did nothing but trash on this game. They could have easily put it in there, but you know what, 2K, if you don't want to do the game properly, find someone to do it. WWE, fire 2K.
I think that more falls on WWE than 2K. If
they rely on the sales.
Put out a good game, they need to cut them.
Exactly. So what do you got?
My hot take is going into Raw. Every week I've been watching Raw, and every time Lana comes on the screen with Bobby Lashley, I want to rip my eyes, slash my ears off my head, because it is the worst segment they have on not only Raw, but SmackDown and NXT and even AEW. It's awful. She can't even read or memorize her script. She's always like babbling, and it's just a terrible segment. I feel bad for Rusev. I feel bad for Bobby Lashley, and I'm primarily putting this on Lana because she's so bad. But they need to just drop this segment like a bad habit. It's just awful. So that's about it.
Well,
everything that they're doing with them is awful.
See, I kind of have. I think there's two things wrong with it. I kind of like the creative of it. I think it makes it very, very weird when you have Lana and Rusev who are actually married in real life. I think that really, I think it really, that just makes it weird. You know what I mean? Find two people who are together in WWE as a storyline to have a cheating storyline. I didn't think it's very weird. Like when I sit there and I go, I know these two are a couple in real life. It just makes it isn't. I mean, I kind of like the idea of the storyline.
I think they're making it so corny and so fake that
it is a little corny.
It's making it so obvious to the viewer. I mean, we're probably schmarts at this moment right now, but like, every time I watch it, it just doesn't. It's not good. Like, there's product on SmackDown and there's product on Raw that are actually good TV to watch drama-wise, and you get the Real Housewives of WWE coming on the screen and just ruining, all of the segment every single week, and they just butchered it. I understand you have one bad week, but like to have 4 bad weeks of this is just like ridiculous.
Yeah, it's becoming a tiring storyline. It's just, and I think you're right. I think Lana's just an awful actress on the program. I mean, I like the idea of the storyline. It's something different that WWE hasn't gone with in a while. I just think they could have found different people to do it.
It's just poorly. The people are poor. And Bobby Lashley is not even like a charismatic person, so it's kind of hard to believe that this guy would just like snatch Rusev's girl right from underneath him, because the guy barely even talks. He had a freaking mouthpiece with Leo Rush, so it just doesn't. I don't know. I think they just like had this mishmash of guys put together, just like they do on SmackDown with Shinsuke Nakamura, Sami Zayn, and Cesaro. It's just like, hey, you guys go out there and you guys do whatever you want, and let's hope that it works out. Otherwise, oh well, we'll scrap the idea later on.
And I agree. DAM314 says that Ukes made better games than 2K, and I agree with that. Ukes and 2K fired Ukes, and Ukes has always been part of like every game that they've ever made. So, and I heard down the, it's to take a while, but I heard Ukes actually is making their own version of a WWE game. So I'd be interested to see that. So that's the hot takes for this week. Make sure you check in beginning of our podcast next week for new hot takes. Going over some WWE news or wrestling news. I can't say WWE anymore. I gotta get used to that. WWE announced that John Morrison has re-signed with WWE. People who are...
Is he going to be wrestling under John Morrison? Or
that I don't know, but he used both names, if I'm not mistaken, didn't he? He was Johnny Nitro at first when he was with Melina and... who was the other guy?
Yeah, the other guy. I forget.
Melina, Johnny Nitro, and maybe Dave will chime in a minute. Sometimes he remembers this stuff. But I forget who... I forget who the third one was, but they had that.
I'll look it up.
They had the posse that came out and so on.
Well, we don't say the P word.
No, but I think he actually went to John Morrison for a little bit under WWE. But either way, he's back. He left in 2011. He spent some time over with Lucha Underground. He did some Impact Wrestling stuff.
It was Joey. It was Joey Mercury.
Mercury, that's who it was. And Joey Mercury, I think, works behind the scenes now. So maybe there could be a little reunion right there. I don't know. Maybe.
Probably not.
Yeah, I would agree with you. But
washed.
But he is. He signed. I think it's good. I think WWE is good to bring back some other talent. They definitely could use it. I have a feeling they're going to do the same old. He has a return and he's a badass for a couple months. And then he's going to get shit on for like 6 months. And they're going to have all the new guys beat him up. Right, exactly. The same exact thing. Like Kurt Angle. So what do you think of John Morrison coming back? You think they go with a heel? You think they go with a face? I think
it's going to be good. They'll probably make him. I don't know. If I had to guess, I would assume they're going to make him a face at first, and then he'll probably turn into a heel. But I think it's good to bring back a familiar face. He is up there in age. He's 40 years old. So, I think he's just going to be there kind of as, like, one of those guys in the background. Like, you're going to get with, like, Matt Hardy. Like, he's going to be big for the first couple months, maybe, if he's lucky. And then he might be one of those guys that's in the locker room that's going to help other guys, develop, which is always good to have. So I think it's good. I think this is more of a stepping stone for him, whether it's for him to retire or whether it's for him to, go somewhere else, because he hasn't been around in a while, news-wise. So
I think he'll finish up his career.
I think it's good for his career.
Yeah, I think he'll finish up his career with WWE. And at this point, you got to imagine whether these are good wrestlers or not. WWE is just going to throw money down to stop people from going to AEW. That's what's going to happen.
It's quite possible. If we're talking about AEW, I think a lot of the guys that are on AEW are showing that, like, for instance, what's the guy that used to do the 10 thing?
Ty Dillinger.
What was his name on WWE?
Ty Dillinger.
Who's now like the piano man or whatever the hell they call him on AEW. But
Sean Spears.
The Spears. So they found something. They found his little niche in AEW. Dean Ambrose, aka Jon Moxley. He found that he's probably one of the top wrestlers now in AEW. So there's so many guys that were in WWE that are now showing their actual talent, and they're showing that they're good on their mic. They're good in the ring. They're good overall, and they're not going to get buried like they were in WWE, because WWE wants to push Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins, and their typical guys.
Brock Lesnar and the same old guys. I get it.
And even if you're in WWE, look at Finn Balor. He went to NXT. He's not even on a main show anymore because now he's on NXT, which after they won Survivor Series, you could say that's going to be a show that people are going to tune into now because they're showing that they're a legit show. They have main guys, they have household names, and Finn Balor's one of them. And now he's shining on NXT. What is going to be the reason for Finn Balor to ever want to go back to Raw or SmackDown? There is none. If he's shining on NXT, there's no point in him going anywhere else.
Money.
Where's Xbox things?
That's why, money. I think you're right. I think I think you're right. I think it's just right now people can leave when you feel like and I agree. I was a huge Ty Dillinger fan. I thought they should have done so much more with him. He could have been a great Intercontinental Champion or United States Champion, right. And they just never gave him the opportunity. He came out, he had the gimmicks, he had the crowd, he had people behind him, and it was a classic WWE bury. They just buried him.
Right.
And I agree. I think sometimes you have to leave WWE, go to AEW, reinvent yourself. Look at Cody Rhodes. Cody Rhodes was probably nothing in WWE.
Cody Rhodes was big. He was big in WWE, obviously, because of his name. But then, he was big even just being over in New Japan and being underground the whole entire time. It's all, I think a lot of what his success and the Young Bucks' success is that they know how to market themselves, and that's why they're so big. And they don't even need AEW to be big. But now that they have that platform, it's just only gonna get bigger for them. But I do have a question for you. I don't know if you saw in the news, but Tommaso Ciampa, I think I'm saying that right, he said that he would never, ever, ever plan on going to Raw or SmackDown and wants to stay in NXT for the rest of his career with WWE. What are your thoughts on
he wants to stay.
Do you think that's a smart business? Do you think that's a smart business decision for him?
No. Why would you ever want to limit yourself when you don't know what you can do? Because you say that stuff, now you're limiting yourself. You never want to go. I mean, I get what he's saying. I think NXT has a real good. See, the problem with NXT is NXT has a reason. It has a purpose, and the purpose is to develop wrestlers. Raw and SmackDown, there's really no set purpose behind those shows other than they're wrestling shows. Like, you look at NXT, the purpose of NXT is to develop wrestlers to move them to SmackDown or Raw. Once you get to SmackDown or Raw, it's like you're on your own. Like, there's no, like, where you go from there. And I think that's where a lot of the...
I feel like the landscape has changed now. They have... That was true before, but now they're marketing NXT as more of its own brand. And you're seeing guys actually go back down, like Finn Balor, and you're having guys come out in the news say, I'm not going to Raw or SmackDown. NXT is where I want to be because the product is raw or edgy, or it's more my style. So, I mean, I don't feel like he's limiting himself. I just feel like he knows what he is and what he wants to do. And I actually applaud him. I don't think he should go to Raw or SmackDown because he would then have the potential of being very just like anybody else. And I think he's a great talent on NXT, and I love his character, and I think if he stayed on NXT, it would only help him flourish even more.
I think if your character's working in NXT, you should stay there. Now that they actually have decent TV time, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. So I don't think that's an issue. I don't know why you... I would never come out and limit yourself. I mean, I guess in my opinion, I would never limit when you never know what the possibility is. Because what happens if WWE wants to move them up and say, we want to make you Universal Champion, and they go, well, I said a long time ago that I never want to be on SmackDown. And it's just like... But I get the reasoning probably for the statement. Is NXT is a lot more organized. They have a good following. There's a purpose behind the show. And I think that works out well. And Amp Slayer real quick, my channel regular, they're just going to bury him like everyone else. I think he's talking about John Morrison. And
John Morrison.
And you're probably correct, Amp Slayer. They'll probably give him 2 or 3 months of actual decent TV time, and they'll just bury him like Sheldon Benjamin. But what do you think? Another return happened 2 weeks ago. CM Punk back into the fold. CM Punk not necessarily signing with WWE, but they signed with Fox to kind of do the WWE backstage program, which, some people are saying it could lead to him coming back to WWE. It's a step forward. And by the way, if you hear noise in the background or if you hear noise in the store, the point of this channel is we're actually live and the store is actually open. So we're doing all this and all these channels, all these shows while our actual store is open. So in case you hear people or people in the background, we're actually open for business.
It's a shame we don't have Elias here that could say, silence your cell phones and have that baby shut his mouth, because that would be perfect right now.
Silence! Who does that? Is that someone says that.
Oh, no, The Rock says focus when he's in the gym.
But, so what do you think about CM Punk coming back into the fold? Where do you think that's going to go? Where do you think he's going to be able to provide?
I mean, I listened to a podcast with him recently that he was basically saying how he probably won't come back. But, I mean, everybody gets that itch. I mean, Daniel Bryan thought he was never going to come back, and now you see him, he's challenging Bray Wyatt for the Universal Championship. So, I think it's good. I think it will definitely help the crowds shut up on CM Punk, which I find very annoying. So, I'm excited for it. I didn't see the first backstage one with him, but if he's going to continue to do it, I will definitely tune in, because he seems like a guy that has some hot takes that will definitely be disagreed upon. So, and he seems like a cool dude. So,
I agree. I think it has some. I just find it hard to believe that it's not going to lead to him doing something. I've always said I find it hard to believe that guy is not going to try to put in some last money. He can make so much money if he came back for like a year with WWE. Just so just do a year storyline and you come back, he can make so much money. I just don't think it's ever not going to happen. And I think this is a step in the direction of bringing both WWE and CM Punk back together in the fold. I think maybe they'll get used to each other a little bit, and maybe that could lead to them working out a deal. But I would say if there's ever was a chance of him getting back, it's greater now than it's ever been with him doing WWE-related content on Fox. Even though it might not be with WWE, it's with Fox, it's still WWE-related. So don't think that money wasn't put there to keep him from going to AEW as well.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Well, I mean, he's been known. I think he's been known to say that he's had a good working relationship with Vince McMahon. So, I mean, it only makes sense.
He just doesn't like Triple H. He's not.
No, most people don't. The guy gets everything handed to him. So.
I don't know about that. The guy actually knows what he's doing to a degree.
No, I know. I'm just bullshitting.
AEW versus NXT in the ratings. You know, people familiar with AEW and familiar with NXT, you know that they're both on the same night. So, a great move by the way. Fantastic move by WWE to put them up against each other. It was taking NXT, which I don't think was really accomplishing anything on the WWE network, and moving them over to the USA network, which is on cable television, and getting probably a decent deal for cable rights and money for that. And to put them up against AEW, I think was such a great strategy. And people familiar with the ratings, and I'll quick kind of run them down. For the first couple weeks, I think AEW opened with like 1.4 million viewers the first week. WWE NXT I think had around 8, and they both tanked. They both have gone down a lot. But the last 2 weeks, NXT has now started to beat AEW in total viewers. The demographics, the 18 to 24 demographics, are actually still being won by AEW, but those numbers are shrinking. So I don't know. It kind of you can kind of throw in the argument that NXT had the whole Survivor Series lead up, where a lot of the Raw and SmackDown wrestlers were on NXT, and I agree with that for a little bit. But now you look at this past week, and of course they're on tonight. But you look at last week. With none of those wrestlers on NXT beat AEW in the ratings. So you kind of look at the two. I don't know. I mean, do you think it's a sign that they're starting to lose grip?
I mean, honestly, here's another hot take for you. I think Wednesday nights are better than Monday and Friday nights. I think AEW puts on a better show than Raw and SmackDown on most nights, and I think NXT puts on the best show. And I think NXT has a lot of great wrestlers. They have a lot of great storylines. I don't think it's as stale as the creative that you see on Raw and SmackDown, which it's refreshing for being a wrestling fan. You see Raw and SmackDown for the past 2+ years as you're watching it, and you see the same shit over and over again. Where you turn on AEW, you turn on NXT, it's something that's new, something that's refreshing. AEW kind of mimics a little bit of the WCW aspect of it. Not only being on TNT, but also they have a lot of of similar like rules that WCW had. So I think it's great. I think, me personally, I would choose AEW over NXT on most nights, but NXT has been putting out really good quality content, and I think War Games, NXT War Games was better than Survivor Series, and it was probably one of the best pay-per-views I've seen all year.
Yeah, it was good. I thought it was good, and I think what you see between the two,
the match where they combined the rings, the cage, I was blown away by that match. That match was incredible. It was carnage everywhere. It was just a classic, WWE match that was like back in the Attitude Era, back in the thick of things when wrestling was fun to watch, and I think that was probably one of the best matches of the year, and that's what made it the best pay-per-view of the year.
I think what you see at NXT, and I think what makes it so good, and what you see on AEW, is that those are all people that are out to prove something. Those are all people, first off, on AEW, they're proving themselves to maybe get to the main roster, even though you could argue they're technically on the main roster already. And, you look at AEW, all those guys are trying to prove themselves to beat WWE. When you get to Raw, and I think this is what kind of leads me with my issue with Raw and SmackDown a little bit, is that the content is just so dry. I mean, you have wrestlers that just are not interested in going out. You see, like, you were talking about Lana a minute ago. It's like, go out and make an attempt to actually run a good promo. Right. Do a good pro. They just don't. There's no.
Like the only thing that I look forward to on Friday nights is Bray Wyatt. He is by far the hottest name in wrestling right now. And every time he comes on TV, regardless of how ridiculous his promos are, I'm just fascinated by everything that they put out with Bray Wyatt. And I think what that has to do with is he has full creative control over his character, which is nice because his character is so complex. And I think they're doing an amazing job with him. If they could put him on TV the whole entire time, I'd be glued in the whole entire time. But
I agree.
They're doing it perfectly with him.
I thought
that's the only thing that I actually like in Mondays and Fridays.
I thought it was a little weird the way they're doing it at first, but I love the whole thing that they're doing with him. I think it's great. And real quick to finish up the news, AEW signed a deal for 4 pay-per-views a year, so basically doing quarter pay-per-views with In Demand. So In Demand is one of the major pay-per-view providers. So I think AEW is building themselves up slowly. You know, they've already mentioned numerous times they don't want to have a pay-per-view every other week like WWE does. But, you know, when you have 3
Which
different...
is smart because when WWE was starting out, they only had 4 pay-per-views.
Right. And to be fair, you have 3 different shows on WWE, all different wrestlers. So you kind of have to have a pay-per-view. Like even let's say they have pay-per-view
every 3 weeks.
Right. I mean, it's just like so I get it. I mean, but AEW right now they're doing quarterly pay-per-views, so that's interesting. So that's kind of the news so far Monday through today with wrestling information and so on for news. And just a reminder, you're watching the Ring the Bell podcast live on Insane Games TV. You can watch us live on Twitch. You can either type in insanegames.tv right on your browser and it goes right directly to us, or you can go to Twitch and go to Insane Games TV _. We're live on, or not live, but we're also on Instagram, Twitter, everything. It's a simple Insane Games TV. If you miss us live, you can make sure you go and watch us our full episodes on YouTube right when we get done. That's the Insane Games TV YouTube channel. So you can watch all of our podcasts there after the fact, and all of our podcasts for all of our shows. Rather, it's the No Look podcast coming up next, Behind the Counter, the Nerd Glass podcast, and then hopefully down the road we'll have highlights of all the streams. So like if you watch the Weekend Wednesday or Monday Night Gaming or Thirsty Thursdays or Retro Monday, all highlights of those streams will eventually go on the YouTube channel. And of course, anything going on here at the store that may be recorded that's not live goes on our YouTube channel as well. So if you want to follow Insane Games TV, follow us on Twitch and follow us on YouTube, and you get all the content you need. So let's kind of go into a little bit of a debate segment here. So right now, obviously, the big topic is WWE, AEW. Who's running the better promo? And as you get familiar with this podcast, you're going to realize that I'm a WWE guy, and Tyler is probably more of an AEW guy. Am I right in that statement?
I'm right down the middle. So, like I said before, some weeks I like AEW, and then some weeks I think WWE beat them for sure. But you know, I like to stay impartial on that.
Little Tyler.
I like AEW. Unlike you.
Little Tyler was a WCW fan growing up, and that's what he watched.
I wasn't just a WCW fan.
No, you were a WCW fan.
WWF.
Deep down.
I love WWF just as much as I love WCW. I just like good wrestling.
Deep down, anytime we talk about something and it comes up...
You can't deny the fact that WCW had amazing wrestlers. Sting, Ric Flair, Booker T,
Stone Cold, The Rock, Triple H, Big Show... Kurt Angle, Chris Jericho.
I respect that more than anything.
We won't even go into the tag team division.
I can name wrestlers way more than you can till the cows come home. Trust me, I know because we did it driving from Florida to New York, and I beat your ass.
I'm not sure that was accurate.
It was very accurate.
Either way, you're a WCW fan. And anytime we have this little talk about either WWE, you always go into the WCW. You have a very deep soft spot for WCW, and you have done nothing but promote. You've done nothing but promote AEW from the start. And I think
WCW and AEW, because they're so similar, they bring a breath of fresh air to wrestling fans. and you got to respect that.
I agree. Look,
you want to in the wrestling industry, you want parity. You don't want, and what that means, Dan, parity is
here
to
comes
have
the big
different
words.
Views and aspects, and you don't want the same thing because then it gets bland and dry like WWE has made it the past 5 years. So I mean, sorry for enjoying different wrestling. That is mainstream now. I can't watch New Japan unless I wanted to stream it, or Ring of Honor unless I wanted to frickin' buy the channel on my local cable provider.
The purpose, look, when it comes to AEW, I like the foundation of it. I like what it's doing. I like its purpose, that it's coming in here and it's creating. It's putting WWE on notice that they have to start changing what they're doing. However, I don't like the way they're conducting themselves as a business. You can't go out there. These guys, rather it's the owner, the president, the Khan guy, or rather Tony Khan, or it's Chris Jericho, or I have zero respect for Chris Jericho now. But or
I don't understand why you have zero respect for Chris
We'll go into that later.
Makes absolutely no sense whatsoever.
Cody Rhodes.
No, let's go into it right now. Why do you not have respect for Chris Jericho? Because anything, he's making the industry better.
How so?
How so? Do you follow him on any social media?
He's
probably the funniest wrestler to follow.
No, he's very funny. But he walked around for years. I'm a WWE guy. I'm a WWE guy.
He never said that.
And the fact that
he said all that Chris Jericho has ever said is that he has the ultimate respect for Vince McMahon and WWE. And, you know, I applaud the guy for going out there, making up a new persona in Chris Jericho, a new look, Chris Jericho, and diversifying himself. I mean, you can't not respect that. And I think this Chris Jericho, just like this Matt Hardy that they're trying to bury in WWE, is the best of the version of Chris Jericho that we've seen in the past 10 years.
The fact of the matter is, my issue with Chris Jericho is if he wanted to go sign with AEW, that's
your
one
issue
thing.
With Chris Jericho, and I know your issue, is how fat he is. You don't like how he looks.
I wasn't even going to go into that, but let's put that off on a side note for a minute. The fact of the matter is that if you want to go sign with AEW, that's fine. Go sign with AEW. No problem with that. But to go sign with AEW and then go around and talk crap about a company you worked for years, and to go around and try to purposely anywhere, you look, he throws his little digs in, trying to then go.
You know it. But you have to understand that he's not being malicious about it. He's a part of a company that he's trying to grow. If anything, that's just the nature of the wrestling business.
And I have no problem with that. I have no problem with trying to grow a company, but when you go around and you deliberately talk shit in WWE,
seems like you have a little bit of a problem with it.
Okay, and you walk around and you try to purposely steal wrestlers and you have opinion. I just don't find that. If I was Vince McMahon, I'd tell Chris Jericho to go shove it next time. And you can't. And
he doesn't have to, though.
And he walks around saying, "I respect Vince McMahon.
Of dollars.
I respect Vince McMahon, but I'm gonna go talk shit about your company and steal your. Give me a break." And you know that guy, looking at him, is not healthy enough to be out in a ring. I don't know what's changed with Chris Jericho over the last 2 years.
He's 50 years old.
But he's gained like 50 pounds, and it's just not a guy that should be out wrestling, or at least be your AEW
too much of the bubbly
World Heavyweight Champion. But we won't even get into that. It's just, but the fact of the matter is, I think WWE.
Yeah, that's like saying when Hulk Hogan or Ric Flair was champion when they were his age. They weren't in their prime shape like they were back when they were in their 20s and 30s. I mean, the guy's 50 plus years old. You gotta give him a break. He's in the back end of his career. He has more matches behind him than he does in front of him. I mean,
I don't know.
I think you have. Dan. I just think you have to respect what he's doing. Someone that's been in the business for 25 years, which is older than I am. He's been in the business longer than I've been on this earth. You have to respect what he's doing. He's changing himself. It's a metamorphosis of Chris Jericho. I am a Chris Jericho stan.
We know you love Chris Jericho. The viewers on the podcast will become accustomed to that. You love Chris Jericho. You love Fozzy himself.
Not? He's one of the best wrestlers of all time. Some would say he might even be on the Mount Rushmore.
Don't even go down there. Don't even go down that road. You know that's not true.
Who said that?
One of the best promos.
You know.
He does some of the best promos. He has a great podcast, great social media presence.
You cannot.
And he's one of the best in-ring wrestlers of all time.
You cannot tell me that he outbeats some of the people that actually go on the Mount Rushmore of WWE or wrestling in general. You cannot even
someone that
come
has
close.
a better social media presence than him right now in WWE, NXT, Raw, SmackDown, or past wrestlers. Name someone.
Brock Lesnar, Undertaker.
Yeah. So I'm saying social media presence.
Okay, who cares? So you're telling me that
social media is the prime way that you market yourself as an independent wrestler.
Right, but you're telling me that Chris Jericho should be on the Mount Rushmore of wrestlers because he has a social media presence?
I said when his career is done.
What?
When his career is done.
Give me a break. You know, we're gonna write this down. This is gonna be another segment. We're gonna have a huge conversation about Chris Jericho.
It's a hot take.
It's a very hot take. I don't.
Jericho, on my Mount Rushmore, I would consider at the end of his career.
I really want to hear this.
Up there.
You really think he should be up there? Your Mount Rushmore?
It's not over yet. What?
Your Mount Rushmore he should be on?
My Mount Rushmore, which is my personal belief, I think I could consider seeing him up on my Mount Rushmore. At the end of his career's not over. You don't know what else he's going to do. The longevity of his career alone is incredible.
Well, we do know one thing he's going to continue to do is get more fabby and fabby. He keeps getting a couple his face and get. He might have
the same thing, and he's on everybody's Mount Rushmore.
I'm sorry, he may have one of the biggest heads I've ever seen in wrestling when he was with that hair.
I'm not going to disagree.
It is enormous. It's actually ridiculous looking.
I mean, some would say the same about your head too. I mean, but here we are.
Really? Are we making jokes about that? Have we seen childhood pictures of Tyler in the size of your head?
Your forehead it just expands larger and larger every time I see you. So.
In fact, and
this angle isn't doing you justice.
I'm not even gonna get in. The photos that have come around of you in the football uniform with an 85-pound head.
I have a photo of me eating Chex Mix right now on my dad's lap when I was 4 years old. That doesn't take away from the point that Chris Jericho is probably gonna be on my Mount Rushmore at the end of his career. I mean, I don't get what the point of my size of my head when I was 4 years old has to do with anything.
Dave Mann, just because the dude got a little flabby doesn't mean he's not the GOAT. And he goes, Chris Jericho is the GOAT. He is indeed the GOAT. And I agree with AC Weezy that Tyler needs a Stone Cold Stunner right now. Because what he's saying is absolutely crap about Chris Jericho. Bullshit.
I don't think it's crap. I mean, he's coming out with all these taglines, all these in-ring promos that are just full. They're 10 minutes of Chris Jericho on AEW is better than 2 hours of whoever else on SmackDown, and definitely 3 hours better than on Raw, because those two shows, they need to maybe get someone new and creative or figure it out, or maybe even get Chris Jericho back. But right now, I think Chris Jericho is putting on the best promos out on wrestling industry right now.
You know who I actually thought of last night? Side take, by the way. This is one of those. I'll do a couple of those where I should be running WWE and I give you my opinion of how WWE should be running things. Okay? Think about this for a minute. He's always out, and Dave, you think about it because I know you're watching. Think about this for a minute. A guy who's always out saying how WWE is too watered down, they need to change. What about CM Punk running creative? Mind blown. CM Punk coming in as a creative guy.
That doesn't blow my mind. How do you know that the guy can actually write a story?
Well, he's always talking about how WWE is doing their stories, so you think he has a pretty good opinion of it. He's always talking about how it's watered down garbage and how it's not relatable.
At this point with WWE, I mean, anything would be better than what's going on right now in most cases.
True.
In most storylines, I should say. Because what they're doing, like I said, with Bray Wyatt, I love it. It's gold.
It's very, and it's also protective gold. They're being very protective of it. I mean,
they also probably have him running full creative over his own character, which I think should happen more often. But Vince McMahon has a tight noose around a lot of wrestlers, so.
Dave doesn't agree with me. Bad idea. I don't know. I think he'd be good. I think
most of your ideas are bad anyway.
No, I don't know about that. First off, that's a whole other subject for a whole other day. What do you think about? What do you think about wrestlers from outside promotions coming on to the WWE circuit, like Cain Velasquez and Tyson Fury coming on, and the boxers and these UFC fighters?
Wrestling, the WWE, and wrestling as a whole is a spectacle, and they've been doing it forever. But I think what it hurts more is the character itself, and what I mean by that is if you bring someone in like Cain Velasquez or Tyson Fury, the life expectancy of that person in WWE is not high. And I mean, if they do that where they make it where he's going to be on the program Raw or SmackDown for a while, it's just going to get stale fast. A lot of those guys are more, you bring them in for a month, run them leading up to a pay-per-view, have them fight a pay-per-view, and that's that. We don't need guys coming over that aren't meant for WWE and staying in WWE.
And they can't even fight. So really, the only thing they can do is there's not much for them that they can do. They don't know how to run a promo.
It's just like Brock Lesnar, except Brock Lesnar started in WWE, so it's a little bit different in his regard. And he was also a wrestler, like an actual legit Olympic wrestler. So,
what do you think, Mike, of all these UFC fighters coming over to WWE?
Do you want to know what I think about it?
Yeah, what do you think about it?
I don't think my opinion is...
Resident UFC expert.
Mike, our UFC expert.
Beat the shit out of anybody in wrestling, so...
It's true, and that's another thing. You don't think Cain Velasquez can actually knock down punches and he actually knock some of these guys out in real life?
Cain Velasquez could actually kill 99% of the roster in WWE. So that's why you can't have them be wrestling for so long. I mean, they did it with Shayna Baszler in NXT, but I don't know. I don't want to sound sexist, but I feel like it's a little bit different for women.
Ian Flair goes, now imagine if Conor McGregor went to AEW. Yikes. I don't think they could. I don't think they have the checkbook for it. I don't think they have the checkbook for it. I really don't. I don't think they pay that much money for it. So what do you think, to finish up, kind of review of the current WWE schedule this week and stuff going on? What do you think about Raw? Oh, SmackDown last week, they unveiled the new WWE Universal Championship. Two different kinds.
And the Bray Wyatt one, yeah.
So they did.
I think that Bray Wyatt one is dripping wet, and I would pay $6,500 on WWE.com to have that. It is the dopest wrestling belt I've almost ever seen, besides maybe the Hardcore Championship title back in the day. That used to be a dope one, too.
So in case you don't know, WWE came out with the new blue Universal title. They got rid of the red, which I thought okay, I like it. I get it, switching it to blue because it's on SmackDown now. But then they come out with this, what do they call him, the Fiend belt, which is specifically for the Fiend, Bray Wyatt's alter ego guy, and it has the picture of him as his face as a title, and it's going for $6,500 on WWE.com. Can you imagine that?
If I had $6,500 laying around, I would pay.
Give me a break. That is outrageous.
Imagine hanging that up in the store. Imagine hanging that up in the store. The dopest belt ever.
I'm not saying it wouldn't be dope, but to spend $6,500 on a belt, get out of here with that. That is ridiculous. I'm not even sure why it's that high of a price, but that's besides the point. Either way, I do like the new titles. And the Intercontinental title got a title change, so it must be they're going through and changing up titles, and adding some new.
Which the Intercontinental Championship belt kind of looks like the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers if they had a belt. Not a big fan of it.
I don't know. I like the universe, and I like the customization of the belt. I think it's cool that they gave the Bray Wyatt's alter ego the
more
title.
Personalized, and I think someone that has the character that Bray Wyatt has right now, it makes total sense. Now, if, Randy Orton wins the title, you're not going to come out with a Viper. Well, actually, that'd be kind of a cool-ass belt. Imagine having a Viper belt made of actual snakeskin. Pretty dope.
True.
Disregard what I was just about to say.
But do you really want to get into everyone having their own belt?
No, I mean, it ruins the whole thing behind it. I mean, the reason why Bray Wyatt has one is because he has two characters, technically, because I don't know whether he has multiple personality disorder or schizophrenia or whatever the hell he has, but... what they have going with him right now, continue it and feed off of it. It's great. Don't change it. Don't ruin it, or I will stop watching WWE. I'll boycott it.
There you go. To finish up real quick, did you watch Raw this week? You said you didn't watch it.
I watched the first hour, it was boring.
What do you think is going on with Seth Rollins? I don't know what's going on here.
I think it's a face change. I think he's going to go into being a heel. It's classic.
I think he's better as a heel. Quite frankly, I think he's a better character as a heel.
Yeah,
and I think Kevin.
The only thing I do you think that he's gonna face Brock Lesnar, or they're scrapping that as a whole? Like, who's gonna face Brock Lesnar next for the championship?
Who knows? Probably someone that they're gonna bury. I don't. Probably someone that's not gonna have any. Probably.
Rey Mysterio did make sense to me. I mean, personally, I didn't think it was. Obviously, you knew that Rey Mysterio was gonna lose just on paper.
Oh no! For a minute, I thought he was actually gonna win.
I don't know if that's sarcasm or not, but okay.
No, it's sarcasm. I mean, really, the guy weighs like 20 pounds and he's gonna beat Brock Lesnar.
I'd say his son would have a better chance of beating Brock Lesnar than he did. So.
I mean, anyone's actually really thought. I don't know. I'm not even gonna get into that.
I think they should. I think the next. My personal opinion. I think the next person that they should have fighting Brock Lesnar is Kevin Owens. We haven't seen it, and he's red hot right now on Raw. I think it would only make the most sense, and they should give him an opportunity. And I want to see a Stone Cold Stunner on Brock Lesnar one more time.
I don't know. We'll see. All right. Any final takes before we close up here? We got 2 minutes left.
You're bald.
Oh, cool. So we got AEW here tonight. We got AEW is going tonight against NXT. What do we got here for matches? They announced who's fighting tonight?
We'll cover it next week.
So what do you think of Samoa Joe commentary? Joke. It's a joke.
Right.
Why are you having wrestlers being a commentary? I don't get it. If they're not going to be the full-time commentary, don't do it. Why?
Maybe they're just giving him a shot, just like they give anybody a shot on commentary.
And just announced Raw viewership, not too bad. Looks like historically it's not that bad. Started with a 2.4 million, ended with 1.9, so it looks like no one tuned into the last hour. No one wanted to see Rey Mysterio fight the OC. No one wanted to watch Rey Mysterio and the Pals fight the OC. It looks like so. So it looks like Paul Heyman's doing a pretty good job keeping Raw going creative wise. So their viewership's up a little bit from last year. So I guess there's nothing wrong with that. Vince has got to be happy when it's up, right?
Yep.
All right.
Money.
So that's all we got. If you missed any of our episode here tonight, you can watch it on YouTube at Instant Games TV. Just look there for the Ring the Bell podcast, episode 1. You can also watch all of our other podcast shows on YouTube as well. The No Look podcast with Tyler and Austin is up next, so that'll be in about that'll be 5 minutes. He's in the background getting ready to go. So
get your weight up.
So he's gonna hop on set here, and that show's gonna go off in a few minutes. So make sure if you're watching us right now, stay on live. We will be back going in a few minutes. Any last words before we switch it over?
Get your weight up, boy.
All right. See you guys next week.
Ha.